guys. Welcome back. Vina is on a roll. Go girl. Not really. It's just that that they pump me with info at the most unexpected times. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and I have this notebook by my bed and I just jot down stuff and go back to sleep. I'll wake up with something else and they just keep it moving. So, and it's at basically their will. And that's a good thing because they are much more attuned to what people need to hear. Why does my face look so, wow, this light is like weird. I look like a plastic mummy. Anyway, I guarantee you that's not like grease on my head or anything or Vaseline. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, um, they're much more attuned to what people need to hear, what people want to hear, and what should be told, right? And so, ever since I started doing this, I swore that I would not put my opinions or what I thought about things. I would try to be the purest a vessel that I could be. I mean, at times I do interject my personal stuff, but for the most part, I try to keep it real. And a lot of you, I think, resonate with that. Just like in my books, um, all that stuff was either stuff I experienced, um, straight shooting, no fluff. I didn't add or subtract stuff. I just tried to keep it real. So you guys are hilarious because if you look at my comments on my very last video about the ETs Among Us, all of you tried to guess. And by the way, I love YouTube, but their algorithm tanked that video. And I really thought that was going to do very well, but it just like stifled it. So I don't know. That's okay. The folks that needed to hear it heard it. Maybe people will pick up on it later. And the reason why I just thought it would do well because I know there's so many people have such an interest in the ETs Among Us, right? Um, but you guys were hilarious. My comments are flooded with your guesses, okay? And I, of course, did not like or comment either way on those guesses. I told you I am not outing anyone ever. I'm just not doing it. It's just not fair to them. And so I'm just not going to do that. Um, but I gave you guys good clues. And I do want to correct someone. Someone said that I said that one of the politicians who's definitely ET is from Alabama. I didn't say Alabama. I didn't name any southern state. I didn't name a southern state. So they're not they're not from Alabama, by the way, but I didn't name Alabama, so I don't know where they got that from. I just said a southern state. Um, but this person is definitely ET, definitely has integrity of the highest order. Um, and shock, surprise, they just happen to be a Republican. But and they fit all the other criteria that I listed. Their physical attributes and the other stuff. So, you know, have fun guessing with that one, but they are um extremely good, good, very good. And some of you kind of got with me because I forgot to mention that in my second book, The Spiral of Love, I detailed an encounter I had with an ET. And I did forget to mention that. So I'm mentioning it now. And that kind of leads me into some of the questions that people were asking about the ETs, like how can they disguise themselves? Okay, so first of all, a lot of them, remember I said, are actually born in the human form, in the human way, and then they're the spirit that is inserted to them is definitely of um, not human type of spiritual DNA. It is it is different types of DNA that's inserted to them because that's what happens. You know, the spirit is inserted into our bodies at birth or very close to birth. Um, but there are also some that will take over a body, and that's willingly on both um, sides. They can come in and assume the already established persona of someone that's here, and that is actually done quite often with both the what we term the good entities and the negative entities. And please understand, there are good and sort of negative, but they have their purpose. Each one, the good ones have their purpose. A lot of times it's keeping the negative ones in check, but the negative ones also have their purpose too, because they can only operate within a certain boundary. Okay. Um, they have a fence too that they cannot go outside of, but they are here to push that boundary. To they are sort of like a spiritual test for a lot of people and us as a whole. Um, and I keep telling you guys, a lot of the folks that are now in the Republican Party are the negative type. And it's very obvious if you think about it. No sense of humanity, no sense of compassion, um, no morality, um, no real sense of dignity. And they are following and obsessed with a person who mirrors them, right? And that, of course, is Don the Con, who I've already told you videos back that he is definitely a real spiritual test for our collective consciousness. He is a true test. So basically, if he repulses you, um, know that you've passed. If you fall in line with what he does and say you've got some work to do, that's just the reality of it. Okay. Um, Universal love is that, just that love, goodness. Okay. When you operate outside of that in one extreme or the other, okay, you are not in line with universal love. Okay. So I think we can all agree that the Republican Party has operated outside the boundary of love um, to an extreme that we've just never seen before. And a lot of these people, a lot of the good, decent Republicans, they've left. They were like, no, I can't do it. Can't do it, won't do it, I'm out. And they're gone. And now you're left with sort of like a cesspool. And look, that's not saying the Democrats, all the Democrats in the Democratic Party are saints. That's I'm not saying that. But theirs is on a whole different level. The level that the Republican Party has degenerated into, right, is it's at a level where it should be not only shocking, but it should really disturb anyone with a true sense of spiritual integrity. It would disturb you, okay, and also let you know what you don't want to aspire to. But like I said, the good thing is I see a point of time where we are basically free of these type of entities. For the most part, they will not rule. It will take a little time, but they will not rule. And I actually see this country cheering, collectively cheering. And a lot of those folks, someone asked me this week, actually, it was a friend of mine, um, what do I feel about the people that like the Venezuelans for Trump, the Latinos for Trump, and the ones especially that got on and was like, I don't care if my family, or my friends get deported. I'm good. And now we find out that a lot of those are actually getting deported. Well, I mean, I am not a fool. Um, this is literally what you asked for. This is part of the karma. Do I have compassion? Limited, but yes, I do in a sense. But just like when I know that if I F up and do something horrible, which God forbid I try not to do, but when I do, I know, okay, I've got to rectify that. Something's got to happen to put things right. Uh, I've got to make it right, okay? Um, and the same with these folks. And now for the ones that weren't for Trump and that are caught up in this, my deepest compassion goes to them, deeply, deeply. Um, and I also understand from a spiritual perspective that this is part of their life path. As hard as it is for me to accept that, I understand that and I know that. I just know that, you know. I remember getting a very good job when I was very young. My first husband had just left me, and I had a new baby, got a great good job, was able to get off. I got on welfare for like 2 months, was able to get off that. And within 2 months, I was fired because the owner of the company I worked for wanted to buy a country club. And he had to cut cost. He had to show that, the bottom line was a certain way for the banker so he could buy this country club. Devastating, right? I was devastated. However, I knew in the back of my mind and from what I had been through during my near death experience that this was part of my path. It was. It was part of my path, something I set up for myself. And the beauty of it, within a few months, I landed a great job that I had for almost 30 years. So, had that not happened, it was devastating for me at first, yes, for sure. Scary, all that. But had that not happened, I would not have landed the job I did and been in the position that I am today, able to retire early. Okay, so um, yes, I definitely have the compassion for those people, etc. But um, for sure, I mean, and sometimes I just try to think of all that it took for them to get here. And then, uh, you know, and it's not just the Hispanics, Latinos, um, it was the blacks for Trump, the Muslims for Trump, and each and every one of those that decided to back this person, right, for reasons that were not legit, right, are experiencing the effects of that in some form. Okay. And I had to crack up because there was a guy that actually, a Mexican guy that actually got deported, and you see those on the TV on TikTok. Um, he got deported, and within 2 days, he was filming himself back in the States. I love that. Like, to me, that's hilarious, and I love that. So yeah, his path was to get deported, but he's back, and he's actually back working with his employer. Um, so I mean, anyway, how did I get off the ETs, right? Okay, so someone asked, were there other planets where there are humans? Absolutely. There is. The human seed has been spread throughout uh, many different galaxies. Okay, but believe me, we are not the only type of life form that's out there. There's some life forms out there that would scare the life out of you. And if you've read either one of my books, you would know that. You would just know that there's some out there that are so foreign that it's incomprehensible to us. Um, and I actually saw a stick. I've never talked about this, um, but I saw a stick type of race. I don't even know what to call them. Okay. They could be sort of the praying mantis, but not really, like a lot different. Their body was almost like there were two appendages for the leg, two appendages for the arm, one rod stick for like the middle part here, okay? Completely black. And their face wasn't a face, it was a almost like the okay, like my husband has a motorcycle helmet. You know the part that you slide down? That was their face. What the right? Um that and they were actually with another race who was completely different from them. They were a, a a round type of being that was born into like a so imagine an egg, right? But take off the top part of the egg. The bottom part is still the egg. Their body is permanently in this bottom part of the egg, okay? And but the top part of their actual other body does have like a head, two arms, but no leg because it's enmeshed in this bottom part of the egg, right? Um, and the black stick beings were transporting these egg things. I saw this. And the reason I never honestly really I didn't put it in the book because how do you describe that without sounding like okay, now I'm like seriously in a fiction book. No, I don't even like seriously, I don't blame none of you if you say, Fina, come on. You know, I believe you mostly, but that's just too. I don't blame you at all. Okay, but I'm I'm telling you this because there are infinite various types of beings out there. Okay, and a lot of the ones that are here know that they have to disguise themselves. And they do disguise themselves because they know it would be a shock and a fright to our psyche. They are sensitive enough to know that. And the ones that do disguise themselves, let's be honest, that takes a sensitivity and a almost a caring to do that. Because if not, if they showed up in their true form with that boldness, we'd be like, I mean, you just have a complete meltdown. And I'm so sure when I describe my experiences in both of my books, um, in one of them, in one instance, I was just shown how they look. Period. But I was in spiritual form. In the second instance, in the spiral of love, when I talk about seeing it, I was in this form, me, Vina, and it metamorphosed slowly. So that was like a consideration for my psyche. Okay. So, um, they will take on a disguise that's needed. But a lot of them, like I said, are born human in human form. Um, and I've already said that they can come in after the actual baby is born in some form, or they're born like that. They can be born like that. A lot of times, the parents are completely unaware. They just think they've just got a great, good, different kid, you know. And these ETs that are planning on coming through here, um, they do look at like the birth chart of the energy of the birth. Okay, they will look at it and plan it out just like our spirits do. That's why astrology is so crucial and on point. Okay, that's not me saying that, that's something that I saw, and I saw how exact it was. Okay, and they will look at the charts and figure out what is the best uh, time period, time, place. I mean, they use that amongst other things. A lot of times there's a connection. They've been with those spirits before. I remember also I worked downtown, and because someone has asked me, can we recognize them at times? And I worked downtown, and this very young uh, white kid, he was about, I don't know, 20, 21. And as he's walking, I'm outside the building smoking a cigarette. And as he's walking down the street, he had I don't typically see auras all the time. I don't often see them, but I could see his. I could just see his. There was an aura of light around this kid that was incredible. And it was shooting out. And as he's walking, I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's got like an aura. Like and he had the most serene look on his face. And he's just walking, walking, walking. And he gets almost in front of me. And I'll never forget his outfit. He had on a white, light coat, black pants, these thick black boots, and blonde hair. He gets right in front of me and he looks at me. He turns, looks at me, and he gives me the most serene smile. And there was a knowing in his look. He knew that I recognized him, and I knew that I recognized him, and we acknowledged that. And I remember my heart got very excited, but not in a bad way. And then he just kept walking. They walk among us. They do. They walk among us. Some of them have extra powers, some don't. Um, but they're different. They are different. Okay. I woke up this morning also with two things. First thing was, actually, it was three. But the first thing, and the first one was to do this video. The second one was, what if there was no winner of the Super Bowl? And before I could think about it further or let whatever come through, my phone rang. So I haven't gone back to it yet. But what if there is no winner of the Super Bowl? Interesting. The third thing was a huge storm. Now, there used to be a meteorologist that would follow me. And I knew that he was a meteorologist because he told me, and also like if anytime I predicted some type of weather event, he would say, well, yeah, that's possible because such and such is such and such and such and such. So to this person, to this guy, I hope you're still around following me. But if not, if there's someone else that can answer this, I saw an upcoming such a major storm. Now listen to this because this doesn't make sense to what I know, but I have to put it as I see it. I saw on the East Coast and the upper East Coast, okay, a huge storm that somehow affected the East Coast up northeast coast all the way over to Europe almost. What could that be? And it was huge. And it caused some severe like waves. Okay. I don't want to say a tsunami because I'm not really sure what a tsunami is. But it was like this storm just affected, was so large and so huge that it just affected from the northeast coast all the way over to Europe. So, and the time period could be like the middle of this month or a little bit later. What could that be? Could it be like, I don't know, like a blizzard or something, like a huge blizzard or something watery, but blizzard, it could be a blizzard. I don't know. Like, tell me, because I can't even begin to, I can't guess that. Okay, so if anybody knows or can take a good educated guess, please let me know. So I don't think I'm even crazy. Okay. Something I want to mention, I know that Pennsylvania has an election coming up. Um, I urge everyone to vote. Okay. And here's the reason why is because we can actually chip away at the majority on the local, state, and even federal level as far as our representatives to the point where we can start stopping some of this madness. Okay, that's how important it is. So vote in, any and every tiny election, no matter how small, it matters. It really does. And I think a lot of this, already stuff is, oh my God, who can keep up with what's going on now? Um, and as for the federal workers, because I know there's a great concern out of many of you losing your jobs, I do see many back. I just see them back. Okay. And I would urge everyone not to take any offer right now because it will be, I just null and void, null and void, null and void. Okay. It's rough, scary times right now, yes, but um, just wait it out a little bit and vote. Vote. Any election coming up, vote. People say elections don't matter. Well, if they don't matter, that's how this goon got in there. They do matter. They do. And that's how there's a Republican majority because elections do matter. I don't understand the thought processes by people that say it doesn't matter. Yes, it matters because that's how he's in there and there's a Republican majority in there. So, yeah, they matter. It really matters. If you've got 10,000 people that sit out an election, especially at a local level, you have effectively changed the outcome of an election by your sit out vote. It's just basic common sense math. So vote. Okay? Just vote. And like I say, you just can't keep track of what's going on now. So I wouldn't even try. Um okay. Sort of the last thing I really wanted to talk about was, have you ever experienced that zone out point? You just kind of zone out and then you kind of snap back and you're back. Okay. Would you believe it or not? That's typically a spiritual zone out point. You are entering into the spiritual zone. Okay. Um, a lot of times people say, um, especially I've heard it myself, with autistic children or extreme neurodivergent type of children, or even adults, you see them often zoning out, right? And I've been told this. All they are doing is they are attuning to the spiritual realm. Okay. Same as daydreaming in a sense. Um, a lot of times our spirit needs to speak with us. It needs to relay information to us. Okay. By us zoning out, becoming flat here, flat, the brain becoming flat, right? It can imprint what it needs to on those brain waves. Okay. It's hard to do it when we're busy thinking or worrying or cussing someone out. Like, I know I never get contacted when I'm driving. Okay. Because you all know, like, I'm a maniac in the car, right? I'm like a nut. So they're not going to try to contact me in the car because they can't. But a lot of times, um, I'll just be doing something and I zone out and I know that I'm being contacted. Now, some people say a download, okay, whatever, upload, whatever you want to call it. But it is a way for our spirits to get in contact with us and reach us. Besides being asleep, which is the best time for them to reach us, is when we're asleep, of course, right? Because we interact, our psyche can interact one on one. But our spirit, it needs that refreshing and that nurturing from those spiritual realms. And sometimes the best way it can do that is by zoning out. So no, you're not nuts, or no, your child or your sister or brother or relative or whoever is just sitting there zoning out. There's nothing wrong with them. They are in a zone where they are communicating with the spiritual realm. Okay. And typically, if you notice, after a good zone out, you come back a little bit different. You might have a little more pep in your step, or you might feel differently about something. Our spirit needs to communicate with us. Um, Remember, they don't work on a time system or a time zone. There's none of that in their sense, okay? So they use the best optimal time to communicate with us. Um, Sometimes it could be right before we go to sleep. We're at that super restful place, right? A lot of times it's when we're doing something we love and stuff will come through. Um, I know someone I love gambling. I'm not going to even pretend. But I know someone that told me that they get such good answers to things when they're gambling. Because they love gambling. Um, Another one when they're gaming, stuff comes like so good. So the zoning out thing, to whoever asked, no, that person is not crazy, not nuts. Because it was disturbing them that their child did that, but there's nothing bad about it. Actually, it's a very good thing. They are in a realm and in tune with something, or something that helps them, nourishes them, feeds them. So I hope that answers that question. Um, and as to the hopelessness everyone is feeling, um, whether it's with what's going on in this country, or whether it's on a personal level, whether you've got someone that's extremely hard to deal with, um, that you just can't make any headway with, it's just a totally negative situation. Okay. There is, believe it or not, no hopeless situation. I'm going to tell you why. There are extremely challenging situations and people that we are going to have in our life, okay, for one reason or another. And it's always an individual reason, okay? It's always going to affect us individually, okay? And for those that we find it extremely hard to deal with individually, that we know one on one, or whether it's this hopelessness that seems hopeless, in this country, okay? Once again, we set this situation up. We are dealing with whatever we're dealing with because it's either something we have to learn from or someone has to learn from us. It's either something that we did not master in a previous lifetime that we put in our path to get this lifetime. or excuse me, or it is a situation, okay, where we have to learn whatever we need to learn from it. And I don't know how many times and how many different ways I have to say this, okay? But no one outside of us controls our path. That's us. We control our path. And so, for those feeling hopeless about whatever situation um, you're stuck at, okay, when you plop your mind, your emotions, your feelings about that situation, whether it's the individual one or the hopelessness that you're feeling for this country, when you plop those feelings, okay, in the neutrality of divine love, when you plop it on that train, the love train, right? You're not having any expectations of what it should be, how you should feel, what this person should do, what they shouldn't do. None of that. You are plopping all of your hopelessness, your anger, your resentment, your sadness, whatever it is, you're plopping it on that train of neutrality, of pure, perfect, divine love. And what happens is you gain back the control that you've always had over the situation. And somehow things are revealed to you. Things will unfold for you in a different way. You'll think differently about the situation. Something may change. Remember, the energies of love harmonize every situation. So if you've truly put those feelings and don't try to dictate what love should do to you or the other person or whatever the situation is, whether it's on a personal level, your mother-in-law, your brother-in-law, your son, your father, your sister, your mother, it will harmonize it the way it needs to be harmonized. But here's the thing. You can't put your expectations of what you think, okay? You've got to be completely honest about your feelings and that anger or that hopelessness or whatever it is you're feeling. You have to let the neutrality of love transmute it. You've got to be willing to release that anger, that hopelessness into the neutrality of love. It's like there's a huge body of water, right? Okay? And there's a dam right in the middle. And on one side is perfectly still, beautiful, harmonious water, right? Then you've got the dam dividing it, and then over here it's like a cyclone of water. That's what you're feeling, okay? You've got to lift that dam, that boulder, that divider, and allow that water and the harmony, okay, of love to blend and release that water. You've released the dam, you've released that water. Then what happens is the energies do change. The situation somehow will change. Like I said, either you'll think differently, they'll think differently. It's They may do something unexpected. Something unexpected may, who knows? But you can't try to put your expectation in it. Just let love do its thing. That works each and every single time. It's just the hard part is releasing your feelings to the neutrality of divine love. That's the hardest part. You'll see things a different way. The person may act a different way. Who knows? It's completely individualistic. And I've told you guys in the last video, love acts individually. And if you have to listen to that a couple of times, do it. Okay? Do it. And that will work for any and every situation that you find yourself in. You must bring it to the neutrality of divine love. Okay? And that doesn't mean that you're blind to this or blind to that or ignoring this or ignoring that, blinders on. No, that doesn't mean that at all. That means that you're seeing what you need to see. However, you're seeing it from the lens of love. From the lens of love. And like I said, that works with any situation that you're having. Personal, with a job, with a person, with a relative, with anything. Anything. And I'm going to, over time, I'm just going to keep pounding that in until, more and more people understand, because it's so important. A lot of people that come on here already have a very good understanding of things. So it is not beyond the capability of many to pick that up and understand it if you don't already. If you don't already. So anyway, guys, all right, I'm going to end now because I just know that I don't want to overload or talk too much. But I thank you all. Take care. And stop trying to bribe me, telling you who these our friends are, because I'm just not doing it. Not doing it. But I gotta admit, I'm looking through those comments and I'm just cracking up and I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I really am. And some of you are wrong, but some of you got it right. Who you got right? I'll never say. Never say. All right, my friends, take care.